This podcast has been brought to you by Seeker's Guidance, the Global Islamic Seminary. Help us spread the light of prophetic guidance to millions around the world by becoming a monthly supporter. Make a small donation at seekersguidance.org/donate. For as little as $10 a month, you can help people find life-changing guidance.
Welcome to Believing Future. Important insights from Habib Umar bin Hafiz into how to raise the next generation of believers. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli wa sallam ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi at-tayyibin, tahirin wa ashabihi ajma'in. So in these podcasts, we'll be looking at this responsibility, this trust, this amana that we have as parents, as caregivers, as family members, and as members of a community to raise our children in the best way, in a way that prepares them to live the best of lives and to attain everlasting felicity in the next life. And this is a really important subject because a community is only as good as its constituent parts. And many of the problems that we encounter in our communities, whether it be failed marriages, broken families, crime, drug use, atheism, fornication, the list goes on. There are a lot of these problems that go back to the same issue of how children are raised, what mistakes are made, or what problems are there in the raising of the children. And the word generally used in Arabic for raising children is tarbiyah, which implies causing something to increase and to grow. It implies also nurturing, that you tend to something, that you take care of something, you nurture it as it grows, and you take it and allow it to reach perfection or reach completion. The word tarbiyah is often used for plants, that when you plant something, you make sure the soil is right, make sure the conditions are right for growth, there's enough light, there's enough water, and make sure it has enough nutrients, get rid of weeds and pests, and then you nurture this plant until it grows and reaches completion and bears fruit or flowers. When it's applied to children, it implies preservation of the child's natural state, the fitrah, which we'll talk more about, providing the conditions for growth. Okay, so the child is born in the fitrah, the state of fitrah. We provide the conditions for growth and ensuring that this growth leads to what is best for the child. But as with a plant, the plant. If you use a plant metaphor, the plant's not. It's not you that's causing the growth. Okay, it's not you that's causing. You're just playing your part. You're just taking the means. And likewise with the child is not. You're not making the child grow. You're not making the child turn out, to be what it is. It's really you're just playing your part, taking the means as best you can, and at the end of the day, leaving the rest to God to do. That's what tarbiyah entails essentially. So what we'll be looking at here is how we can fulfill that role of raising children, giving them making the conditions as good as they can be for the child to have the best of upbringings, and giving them the best of opportunities and the best of tarbiyah according to the teachings of our beautiful tradition. So how we're going to do this? It's kind of like a threefold approach, you could say. We have a text. This is almost like similar to the traditional way. We have a text, and we have a commentary on the text, and have a little bit on top of that. So the text is called Child Education in Islam, Tarbiyat al-Awlad fil Islam. It's by Dr. Abdullah Nasih Ulwan. So that's the text that we're looking at. On top of that, there's a commentary by Habib Umar bin Hafiz. And then I'll be taking from the text and the commentary and summarizing and sort of translating and giving you kind of the summary of what's being said. And the book itself, so the first thing, the book, it's quite a big and detailed work on many aspects of tarbiyah. It was first published in 1976, so it's not a classical one of the the texts of the early scholars of Islam. It's a recent text, a 20th century text, so relatively recent, reprinted many times, and also translated into English. It's translated, as I said, under the title Child Education in Islam. You can find it online, but I don't particularly rate the translation. It's not the best. It's okay. You get the gist of what's being said. And also it's not complete. It's an abridged version, but it's a tool we can use, inshallah, for those who are interested. Just to mention the author briefly, his name is Dr. Abdullah Nasih Ulwan. So he's a 20th century scholar, born in Aleppo, in Syria in 1928. Aleppo was and from as a center of Islamic knowledge. Many great ulama came out of that city, especially in the that we know of in the 20th century and before. It was one of the great centers of knowledge. Many institutes and a really strong tradition of ulama and scholarship. Dr. Abdullah Nasih Ulwan himself was a descendant of Sayyidina Ali Zayn al-Abidin, the son of Imam Hussein. So he has from a noble lineage of the Prophet's house. And his father named him Abdullah Nasih, the servant of Allah, who is Nasih is someone who has nasiha, someone who wants good. The intention of his father was that he be a caller to Allah, that he be someone that has nasiha. Nasiha meaning he wants good, and therefore that wanting of good leads him to counsel and to advise and to help the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ. So his father had an intention when he named him. We're going to talk more in future sessions about the importance of intention when we have children. So he named his son. He gave his son this name, hoping that he would one day benefit the ummah, be someone that called to Allah, and that was his intention was realized. Shaykh Abdullah studied Azhar in Egypt, studied also in Pakistan, got his doctorate from Pakistan in Islamic studies. He spent a lot of his life, and the rest of his life teaching and educating. He was a professor at King Abdulaziz University in Jeddah, in Saudi Arabia, and he wrote a number of books, and he really, he kind of was aware of the changes that were taking place in the 20th century, the kind of turbulent time that's going through, especially in the Arab world and elsewhere in the Islamic world, and he wrote books, that were dealing with the issues that he was facing, and a lot of that's relevant today. The challenges, the same challenges that are still there and have increased in many ways, but he was writing for his time. So that's the book that we're looking at, and you could just read the book, and you learn from it. There's lots of benefits, lots of benefit in there. But we're blessed to also, on top of that, to have a commentary on it, to have a sharh, what's called a sharh. Sharh is a commentary. It's expanding. It's going a bit deeper. It's taking a different angle to it. That's the blessing of sharh. In our tradition, we have this concept of commentary. We have a core text and we have commentaries on it. Scholars went into it and explained it and benefited from it. So here we have a commentary from Habib Umar bin Hafiz. Habib Umar bin Hafiz taught this book for a long period, probably a couple of years. It's a long book, and he went through it, from cover to cover, teaching it 5 days a week in the traditional way. He would in Dar al-Mustafa, where he is, where he teaches. They have a tradition of reading, praying the Fajr prayer, reading the Adhkar of the Sunnah, reading Surah Yasin, reading lots of du'as and so on. Then they have a class up until Ishraq, up until sunrise, in the morning. So he teaches every morning, 5 days a week. And for a long period, he read this book, taught this book, and we're blessed to have these lessons are recorded, and they've been transcribed. And I was blessed to attend some of these lessons back in around 2007, around that kind of time. I remember attending some of these classes in Dar al-Mustafa, and that's the traditional way. Is the book is actually read, someone reads, and then the teacher comments. It's enough to hear the book, hear what's being said, and then if there's something that needs to be explained, or there's some something that comes to mind and the teacher needs to comment on, then they'll do that. That's the traditional way. So we're going to go through the commentary. We'll look at the text, we'll look at the commentary, and we'll take from that. There's hours and hours of it, so as you can imagine, we're not going to go through it all. But we'll take what we can, and we'll try and apply it to our situation as much as possible. And it's not just any old commentary. This is Habib Umar, Hafidahullah, may Allah protect him. He himself is a murabbi. He is someone who is able to give tarbiyah. He is a master of tarbiyah. Tarbiyah meaning, in the general sense, meaning, as we said, nurturing. In a spiritual sense, nurturing the human soul. Achieving the potential of the human soul, that it can achieve perfection. That is the job of the murabbi, is to take someone from to that state, to fulfill that potential. And this is a very rare thing. So it's a huge blessing to have a murabbi in this day and age. Someone who's able to do that, who actually can take someone from one state to another. And when people attend the gatherings of someone like Habib Umar, or they learn from him, they're in a sense like children receiving tarbiyah, being nurtured and raised by a parent. There's that metaphor, there's that likeness there. The Prophet ﷺ was like the greatest of fathers to his ummah. He was sent to purify people, to raise them, to nurture them. Allah says in different verses, where you zakih him. He was sent. Part of his mission was the mission of not just reciting the verses and teaching his sunnah, but also his job of purification of the heart. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Habib Umar is also a da'i. He's a murabbi. He's also a da'iyah, or a da'i, someone whose concern is to call people to Allah, whatever state they're in. His concern is to bring them closer to Allah, to bring them closer to their Lord. And that's the tradition in which he was raised. He was raised in a tradition of tarbiyah and tazkiyah and da'wah, tradition of great knowledge as well, knowledge of the Sharia, knowledge of the Sharia sciences, knowledge of spiritual progress and elevation, and knowledge of tazkiyah, knowledge of, and also calling people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, educating people and elevating people. And Habib Umar is he's a living murabbi, as we said. He's a living person who can impart that teaching, and he has inherited it from his forefathers. His father was a great caller, was a great scholar, was a murabbi, and likewise his grandfather and great grandfather, going back to the Prophet ﷺ. They say his nasab is his sanad, meaning that we have sanad, we have a chain of transmission in knowledge, in different types of knowledge. We take, for example, hadith is there's a sanad, there's so and so narrated it from so and so back to the Prophet ﷺ. We have that in all the different sciences. We have it in the spiritual sciences as well. But Habib Umar is rare in that his nasab, his lineage is also his chain of transmission. So he's inherited this knowledge from people through blood bonds, but also through the ties of knowledge and the imparting of knowledge. So we'll be taking from this from the insights of Habib Umar, Hafidahullah, and from the book itself, and then putting it into a format which is inshallah easy to benefit from. And finally, I want to kind of make a dedication to a dear friend whose name is Anas Shaheen, Sidi Anas Shaheen, an old friend, someone I knew for many years, and his main concern was tarbiyah. His main interest, his main work, his life work was tarbiyah. He worked for a long time in education in the school system here in Scotland. He looked at different models. He traveled. He was always looking for answers, looking for the perfect blend, the perfect kind of the solution to raising Muslim children, especially in a Western context. How to give children everything they need to live in this and nowadays there is many ways what's west and what's east is kind of blurred, but how to give a child growing up the tools to flourish, with their Islam and with in the context of their living. And he himself had a strong attachment to Habib Umar. He was very interested in these classes, in fact, in going through these classes, and he arranged for them. We arranged for them to be transcribed, and the idea was to translate and benefit from them, and to allow other people to benefit from them. And we made he made a start to it. It didn't get very far. He was busy with a lot of different projects. He went on to establish a unique school called Olivewood School in Glasgow, in which is a bilingual school, Arabic-English school. He had a real vision. He had a real passion for tarbiyah, for education. But sadly, his health very quickly he contracted cancer, essentially, and his health deteriorated very rapidly, and he died earlier this year. Rahimahullah. It's a big loss for myself, for the community, for many people that were attached to him. And he had a lot of things that he wanted to do. He had a lot of unfinished business. But as the Prophet said, "Niyatul mu'min khayru min amalihi," the believer's intention is better than the action. So everything that he intended is recorded. But we hope that these lessons, inshallah, will be part of fulfilling that one of his wishes, and continuing the work that he did in a very small way. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raise his rank. May Allah bless all our teachers and all those who have conveyed and preserved this tarbiyah, and allow us to benefit from them. And inshallah, in the next session, we'll make a start to the content itself. Look forward to doing that, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you for listening. This podcast was brought to you by Seekers Guidance, the Global Islamic Seminary. Visit seekersguidance.org to access reliable Islamic knowledge taught by qualified teachers. We offer a wide range of courses, podcasts, articles, and a world-class answer service. Support us in spreading free, reliable Islamic knowledge to millions around the world by becoming a monthly supporter. Visit seekersguidance.org/donate and make a small monthly commitment today. Our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Whoever guides someone to goodness will have a similar reward." So don't forget to share this podcast and spread prophetic guidance.